Susan, thank you so much for being here. We're just so excited to connect with you.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here too.
Hold on, you have a beautiful voice. Holy smokes. That voice of yours, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That's very kind. Yeah, one of the things I like to talk about is dirty talk. So, I have to have a sexy voice.
Well, I was just thinking phone sex operator, so I feel like that's just perfect. So we'll just dive right in with how the hell did you get to be so damn sexy kind of question.
Ooh, how did I get to be so sexy? Well, a couple of ways. And most people would be like, "Oh, I know that." Fuck that. I'm sexy, and I know it. And everybody should feel that way because it is affirming, it's confidence building, it projects an image of sensuality and desire for connection. And I see very handsome, very beautiful, very attractive people who I know they're physically wanting to be more sexual. They want to have a good sexuality. You can see it in what they're doing, but they're not showing up as sexy. And it kind of ruins it. And I think that the more that we can live into our sexiness, the more we can flood our moments of the day with that kind of turn on. And being turned on ignites the rest of our life. So you have to start with believing and feeling sexy. And some of the things that I do are, I think about my sex life. I plan my sex dates. I leave my planning of my sex dates now that I have a lot of sexual self-confidence to allowing myself to just show up with a lover and see what we feel like doing. Where are we in our relationship? What are we learning together? What are we desiring? What kind of experiences do we want to have? Is there anything we want to do? Like for me, I try a lot of sex toys. I try new things all the time because I'm always experimenting because I'm a sexual biohacker. So I like to report back with the ideas and insights that I've gotten. I also, I thank my lovers a lot for the experiences that we've had together. We stay in sexy conversation together all the time. And it's in and out of the bedroom. It's a fluid conversation about our desire, what we love about each other, what we find sexy, objectification and worship, things like that. Sharing frames is a thing that I teach my fans and followers about. Explaining what your experience was that was like a highlight of your experience with your partner the last time you were with them. What was that moment of like real excitement? I could give you a couple of really sexy ones if you wanted me to right now, as an example.
Just go for it. We're all here. We're in.
So one of and I do have multiple partners. I've been married for 30 years, but I do have partners who are fluid bonded to me. So they're not having sex with people outside of a circle, and they're tested, and that we want it to be like very, very safe health wise. And then that creates and someone could screen in for a weekend. It's not like it has to be forever, but I do like the notion of fluid bonded when you have more than one partner. And I encourage people to have more than one partner. It grows you, it stretches you, you learn new things, you try new things. Everybody likes different things. It's a way to expand your experiences. And one of my partners recently, I had told him that the last time we had a date, he spanked me, and I like it. And I said to him, I've been really fondly remembering that spanking that you gave me, where I was, like, oh, I was trying to wriggle away. And he was like, oh, no, you don't. You have to stay right here, And of course, at any time that I really wanted him to stop, he would have. But it was just like, I was just like having it happen. And it was very exciting. And so this time when we were together, he was pleasuring my yoni with his hands. and alternating spanking me and doing that, he had me turned over his knee. And I'm a giant, strong woman. And it was nice for me. It was super hot. And then I told my other lovers about it and shared it, and they loved hearing the story. So another experience that I had was with a partner who, these are just ones that are coming to my mind. He was in a very long-term sexless marriage, and I'm kind of his bounce out of that. And so he's just like a kid in a candy store having this experience. And I was lying there, and he was going to orally pleasure me. And I had my legs butterflied open, and there was sunlight streaming in the room. And he was down between my legs, kind of on one shoulder. And I said, "What do you love about my yoni? What are you noticing when you look at my yoni? What strikes you?" And he said, "Just how incredibly welcoming it is. Just how beautifully open you are, how you can let me look and take my time. And it just looks like your yonis would just reach out and hug me. And it's so different than my experience of like kind of trying to climb through the brush of my partner's vagina to find my partner's vagina. And there were no trespassing signs with, oh, damn, that was my watch. There were no trespassing signs that said, get off my land in there, you know? And there was a hillbilly with a shotgun in that yoni, you know? And so like,
Driving where I grew up.
Yeah.
I thought I'd use a little Texan analogy, right?
Well, that's
Nailed
exactly
it.
where I grew up. And, you know, that's it really pinpoints why we were so drawn to your energy to bring you onto the elevated life, because you have such a welcoming, divine, feminine aura, and your confidence, just you being like, yes, I am sexy. In the work that I do for women empowerment, it's like a constant, like, fucking stop beating yourself up. Stop beating yourself up. You're amazing. You're amazing. And to just sit across from you and see you exude this power and this goddessness, like, I know you haven't always been this way. So what inspired you to become the leading expert in the field of sexual health and wellness? Like, how do you get to be here? Because someone like me, who is all about preaching sex magic and orgasms, also came from a lot of sexual trauma. So it took a lot of healing and transformation. So can you take us back to before you were this divine goddess and how you got into this field?
Yeah, same way you did, Brett. I mean, it was through the trauma. Our greatest wound becomes our greatest gift. And decade into my relationship with Tim, whom I've been together with now 30 years. This will be a 30-year anniversary of our wedding. So we've been 31 years together. We hit a real rocky time in our marriage where I didn't want to be intimate with him anymore. I didn't want to have intercourse anymore because it really wasn't satisfying for me. I didn't know how to have orgasmic intercourse. And here I am, 2 decades later, and the book that I'm writing 3 books right now, and one of them is Orgasmic Intercourse, because what I've learned is that orgasms are learned skills. There's 20 kinds of orgasms we can have, and the 20th one is wild card, because I don't know everything. There are things I'm still learning after decades of pretty much full-time 24/7 thinking about sex. And I just want every person to know that they can have this incredible co-creative ecstasy through intercourse, because I think it's what really stops heterosexual monogamous couples, which is the big bell curve of people. It stops them from continuing to have intimacy, and then they end up being platonic, and then the sexiness goes away, and then the zest goes away, and then they're just like dead on earth. You know, it's like the difference between having incredibly satisfying, heart-connected, passionate, conscious lovemaking that's multi-orgasmic for both partners, and trying to avoid your partner or not want to be even touched anymore is like literally hell on earth to me. So that I just started on the journey to heal myself and to heal my relationship, and realized that actually sex is very easy to learn. Somebody just needs to tell you what to do. And so many people are like, well, my parents never told me anything. It's like, well, it wasn't their job. It's your job. It's your journey. Just like your personal growth and development is your journey. You don't need someone to tell you, your parents don't need to tell you how to have sex. You wouldn't listen to them anyway. They didn't know. So you're the one fixing this wound going forward. And when we learned how easy it was to just ignite our sex life, we said, yeah, we got to bring this on the internet and let everybody anywhere in the world learn how to do these things so simply and in such a straightforward way. There's techniques, there's communication, and there's sexual health and wellness. And they're the three legs to a solid foundation of a hot sex life that keeps getting better. The upward pleasure spiral, I like to call it.
Gosh, I love your perspective on this. I want to ask you, because you're bumping into this, which I think is huge. And ever since we've been running women's retreats and couples retreats, the number one thing that I find people struggle with is communication.
Yeah.
And so what would you say to someone who is either wanting to revitalize sex in their life, or maybe one partner has a high sex drive and the other partner is a little more the low libido style? How do you reconcile that? And how can you begin to have a conversation with your partner about, listen, I'm into you. I want to have a more meaningful sexual relationship. I want to have explosive sex. Like how does that conversation start, especially to people who maybe either are embarrassed about talking about sex, or they come from an extremely religious or a strict background where you're taught you're a whore or you're burned in hell or any kind of things that a lot of us have been taught? How do you start to have that kind of dialogue with your partner?
Yeah. Well, that's a giant question, but I'll give you some ways to get to penetrate it, if you will. The first thing is that if there's been a lot of sexual trauma, religious trauma, shame, etc., it's best to work with a therapist of some kind, a sexologist, a psychotherapist, what have you, because you have to unwind that stuff and come to the realization that you've been sold a bill of goods and that you don't want to ascribe to that, and you want to get out from under the shame and the fear that's been pushed on you to control you. So that's a big one right there. The second thing is that I'm not actually sure that there's this, I question a lot of terminology in the world of sex right now. And one of them is this high libido, low libido partner. And so men expected women to have this, spontaneous desire. She never initiates, she never wants sex. Well, we're not testosterone dominant, we're estrogen dominant. And so sometimes I would say to men, what if she never initiates sex ever again? And you just are like, okay, so my jobs are killing the bugs, the rats, the mice, the snakes that get in the house. My job is taking the trash out every single week without fail, not even having to be asked. My job is always making offers for pleasure and not expecting to get sex, but just starting to be really fun, kinesthetic, massage, picking her up, moving around, taking her on walks, moving her in nature, touching her, stroking her, brushing her hair, giving her body rubs, foot rubs, kissing her. Well, if he just got into the frame of mind that it's like, that's my job, I just do that. And it turns out that the minute I start giving her foot rubs and telling her how gorgeous she is and how much I love her, she wants me to rub her back. Then she wants me to give her a Yoni massage. And pretty soon we're having hot and heavy oral. And then we're having great intercourse, and our sex life's never been better. So because for a lot of guys, they're like, how come she doesn't want to have like immediate penetration like I do all the time? You don't live in our bodies. So a big part of what I do is I just translate, okay, 42-year-old woman in perimenopause with low libido. Literally, what if it is that you've never had a decent intercourse experience? What if it's nothing to do with libido and nothing to do with estrogen levels? Because estrogen isn't the molecule of horniness, it's testosterone. You actually have a higher testosterone to estrogen ratio if you don't use bioidentical hormone replacement and you go through menopause. So you potentially could be even hornier. So what if it's just that you have never had the kind of sensual, seductive, slow, heart-connected, passionate, massively orgasmic sex that I'm having? Let me show you how. And let's see if that makes it, like that you still have a low libido. And there are problems that people run into too, like painful intercourse, loss of lubrication, delayed ejaculation, men who have trouble getting hard or keeping an erection, that's called venous leak. And that's why that third leg of the stool, the sexual biohacking and regenerative therapies, you've got to have the parts working for you to even have an interest in moving forward with oral and intercourse and things like that. So that's why I talk about FemiWave and the vagina device with photobiomodulation and taking nitric oxide supplements for women. That's why I talk about GainsWave and using the Whopper vacuum erection device, the penis pump, and taking nitric oxide supplements for men. Because if you don't even understand what it takes to keep your genitals in good working order, when they stop working, that physical piece of it has to be there too. And what I like to do is I like to help people have a healthy sex span, great sex till the day they die. So whether it's understanding that you have physical issues or that you have issues with seduction and touching and connecting and slowing down, whatever it is, you got to kind of look at, okay, where is the problem, or what are the series of problems, and how do we fix them? How do we gain more information? Did that help?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you talk on, when I'm working with women and I ask how their intimacy, that's one of the top questions that I ask. I want to know, like, what's your spirituality? What's your natural health and wellness? Like, what's your sex life? Because all of this really does play a point. And as you were talking earlier, it made me think the problem really is that our goal in intimacy is not intimacy. It's like to orgasm really quickly, or how fast can I just do this for him? But the problem that I'm seeing so much lately is that women are resenting their partner and withholding sex, which withholds their own healing, because our orgasms are what help heal our body. So can you talk on to the woman who is resenting their partner for either not helping with the kids, or, like not, I feel like it always comes with not helping, the man not taking an initiative around the house, or like the woman's working all the time and dealing with the children. So I'm going to withhold sex from you because you're not doing anything for me. Can you talk about how like that's detrimental to all parties involved?
Yeah, well, that's a power play. As a matter of fact, I have a girlfriend who's the earner in her family, and her husband withholds sex because he gets pissed off that she's the one that feels like she's controlling everything. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be the woman. It's a power play. And that's shitty, because this is your partner. You have to grow up and mature into a loving, kind, compassionate partner who's playing a higher game. You have to put, my husband and I call ourselves Team Sweetie. And his life is 99.99% as important to me as mine. Why don't I say 100%? Why don't I say my husband's life is as important to me as mine? Because there have been times in my marriage of 30 years where he's pulled some bullshit I didn't like. And even though he's practically perfect, he's not perfect. And he's done some dumbass things that have hurt me. And I've had to say, this is totally unacceptable to me. I cannot live with this situation. I do not like this behavior. And if it continues, I cannot stay in this relationship with you. You are hurting my life by doing the thing you're doing. And you either have to step up and clean it up, or I can't be with you anymore. And I do not want to leave you. I love you. I want you to fix this problem that's untenable for me and making me miserable. And so sometimes you have to wait. I had to wait for my partner for a couple of years to fix that problem, and stay very true to the fact that I was willing to give him the space to fix a problem, but that I wasn't going to stop requesting the fix, and that there would be a time. And I gave him timelines. I was like, this year, the second year, I was like, if it's not fixed by the end of the year, then I'm going to go get a divorce attorney that I hope you'll like too, because I don't want to have an acrimonious divorce. You have now taken so long that I'm out of time. I've been miserable for a couple of years now, and I have to take care of myself. I have to protect myself. So that's a tough conversation to have. We got through it. He changed it. He's come back into the fold. He's gotten over his anger and his bitterness at me making him change this thing that he didn't want to change because he was happy. But he got through it, and I fought for our relationship on that point. I fought. I held space for our future renaissance. Because when you're married for 30 years, you go through a series of renaissances. You go through tragedies together. You go through times that are, one person being an asshole and the other one's not going to put up with it, and it could have as easily been me. And I'm sure I have done those things too. So there's two things that I would say about the relationships with women and their partners when they're withholding sex. Number one is that you are not having your relationship values met. We come into relationships with a set of very specific things that we want, feelings we want to feel, and things we want in our relationship. And I wrote a book. It's called, I don't have it here because I just did that meet and greet at the Keto Con, and I took all my books, and everybody took all my books. But I have a book called Relationship Magic, myrelationshipmagic.com. It's a little downloadable workbook. You can buy it on Amazon, but you can get it for $10 at myrelationshipmagic.com. It's a printable workbook. And honestly, if you guys want to just get one copy and use it with all your clients, it's fine with me. I don't mind. And what it does is it helps you determine what it is you want most out of the relationship. For me, I need security, freedom, honesty, passion, variety. These are the things that I need. My husband needs passion, honesty, growth, fun, and adventure. So we're fairly good together, but we supply things to the other. My husband doesn't need security. He can take care of himself. I'm a woman, and I need to be taken care of. I just need security. I did not grow up in a well-attached childhood. I had a lot of fearfulness. I had a lot of things happen to me. I've had a lot of trauma in my life. I need my daddy to take care of me. It's definitely that kind of a thing. It's fine. He loves to do that for me. So once you understand what your relationship values are, then you can tell your partner, here's what that looks like. What that looks like for me with my husband and security is we always have money in the bank. We always have great health care. Our cars are in good working order. Our houses have alarms. If I am out in the world and anything happens, we have a safe word and he rescues me. He keeps me safe. He keeps his eye on me. He's always got his eye on my safety because I need someone to be my fierce protector and to care for me and to keep me safe. For him, passion, his number one looks like I wear lingerie around the house, like super slutty stuff. He loves it. I don't care. It's half the stuff scratchy as hell and it's hard to walk in the heels, but I do it because he loves it. I put on stockings and stripper shoes when we have intercourse a lot because he loves the look. I think it looks, doesn't do anything for me. He loves it. So he wants me to sit on his lap. He wants me to take showers with him naked. He wants me to touch him and stroke him and kiss him. And he wants to play with my boobs. And this is what he wants. And so I make sure that I give it to him, that I am focused on paying attention to the things that he wants most from me. And I think once you understand what the exact things are, your partner stops treating you the way they want to be treated, and they start treating you the way you want to be treated in the relationship. Your relationship begins to feel like it's right on, like giving you exactly what you want. So for the woman who is withholding sex, she's not getting her relationship values met. They're showing up in some things that are missing. And so she's hurting herself, her husband, and her team, sweetie, by doing this very low level, immature power play that's also keeping her from having a rebooting of her nervous system, an endocrine cascade of neurotransmitters and feel good hormones. I mean, in a study that was done in the UK and the US of 2,500 people looked at pictures of people between the ages of 18 and 80 and guessed their ages. And there was this group called the super young that everyone guessed them as 10 years younger than all their cohorts of the same age. And they're like, well, what is the correlation between these super young people? Why do they look so young? And it turns out that those were the people that had intimate connection 3 times a week or more. That was the only difference between them. They looked young. They looked 10 years younger than all their peers because they were intimate 3 times a week. Like, that's enough for me. But then when you look at the Dunedin Pace long-term study of longevity, and you realize that standing on one leg with balance, grip strength, cognitive function, and visibly looking younger than your cohorts are the 4 indicators of longevity. You're like, okay, I got to get busy. I got to heal this wound. I got to start to take my pleasure. I got to find a way to get my partner to give me the things I need in a very clear and concise way so that they can start winning and making me happy. And now, instead of working at this low level of acting like, like sophomoric, I'm now an elevated, integrated, reliable, responsible, mature, communicative partner who's having hot sex. And my husband is meeting me in all these other ways too, because now he knows what the hell I actually want. So that's what I would say. But see, this is why I'm not a therapist, because you can't talk to your clients like that. This is why I'm a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques, because, you'd have one meeting with me and hate me for the rest of your life and go on your merry way being an asshole for the rest of your life. So I'm not a therapist.
She sounds like my soul sister.
Yes, I will tell you, I've read every relationship book that's major out there. I have friends that are sex therapists that I talk to on a regular basis. And I've never quite had someone put it so simple as you put it. Find out what your partner wants and fucking give it to them.
It's literally,
right, Chris?
It's not as hard as we all make it. Our partner wants to be loved. They want to also love us. Like, we're both have the same overall goal. If you can just take your head out of your ass for a minute and put it over here, sometimes loving the other person, like our biggest relationship advice always is don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Stop being a dick. You can't have a good relationship if you're thinking about your partner in a terrible way, if you're talking about your partner in a terrible way, if when you see them, you're ho-hum and life sucks. No one wants to be around that energy, like nobody. And the second that you start appreciating them, the second that you start not only noticing their beauty, but telling them about it.
Yeah.
And like you said, worshiping them. I find guys so often, like I love holding the door open for Britt. I drive her every single place that we go. I love commenting on the way that she looks. We go shopping, even though I hate shopping.
My titties all the time.
I love going into the dressing room with her. She's found out that she can go shopping for as long as she wants, as long as I get to be in the dressing room as she tries the stuff on. And so it's like we start to win-win. We've started to figure each other out. Like it's not as hard as we make it. I want to shift gears real quick though, because you've said some amazing things. We talked a little bit about the physical aspect. We've talked about the communication. Can you talk about the spiritual side of sex and the spiritual side of connecting with your partner? Because I think a lot of us are still stuck on the physical game. We're still only seeing it as, pump and dump kind of a deal. And to me, there's so much more once you start unlocking that longer, slow sex that you're talking about. Yeah. When you start to slow it down and bring mindfulness and meditation into the practice, something unique happens, especially for me as a guy. I don't know exactly how it happens as a woman, but for me as a male, it unlocks so much stuff because we never actually see that kind of sex, not on TV, not in porn. And it's you have to discover it or have somebody who tells you, hey, stop going. It's not a race. It's okay to slow down. So can you talk about that spiritual side of connecting with your partner and what that means?
Yeah. Yeah. That, I joke that my brand of sex, I joke that if sex were a brand, it would have a tagline: sex, there's always something more. I just love that. And my brand of sex, the Susan Bratton style, I have very specific words that I've used over all these years. It's heart connected, conscious, passionate, lovemaking. And the heart connected is pretty easy. You bring your heart to it, but there's so many men out there who have not connected their heart to their cock. And they wonder why they feel unsatisfied, why they're just constantly searching. So heart connected is very, very difficult, especially for insecurely attached people who haven't gotten the love and the holding and the connection that they needed to feel like they can let down their guard and unarmor themselves and connect their heart. But once you get good at heart connection, you could have a one-night stand that was the most loving, connected, beautiful experience that you'll treasure the rest of your life when you find two people that know how to connect hearts. So heart connection is a practice. It's funny. A dear friend of mine, I walked through my living room and there's a slide. I have a Facebook portal that slide shows all my old photos. And I saw a picture of myself with Deborah Anapol. She was, she's passed away, and she wrote the 7 Laws of Love. That was one of her books. She was a good friend of mine. And what she taught me is that the heart is like a muscle door. It opens, and when you open it and you love, you actually feel more love. And as you learn to open your heart and love, and you begin to feel more love, the muscle strengthens and the love gets more pervasive in your life and part of what you do every day. And so a lot of times when people connect with me and they email me, DM me, what have you, and they're like, I'm so lonely. I want to have somebody, but I don't know what to do. Dating apps aren't working for me. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, just start loving everybody. Love the cashier in the grocery line. Love the person who brings your coffee up to the table. Let everyone feel how loving you are. And the love will start to come in. You are hard-hearted, contracted, shut down, not leaving space for love to come in. So I think that the loving piece of it is one thing. Then the conscious is we're letting go of the shame that we've been brought up to feel about our genitals, about our desire, about lovemaking, sexuality. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be unabashedly connected to wanting you and wanting to be wanted by you. I'm not going to be afraid to express my desires. I'm going to ask for the experiences that I want. Like I wanted that second spanking and I asked for it. You're willing to be here and verbally mature about your own desires about sexuality. Passionate is the turn on. It's the, it's the, you're so hot. I can't, like the first night I got there and we had to go to sleep because we had a 7:40, we had to be 7:45 for a video shoot. And I couldn't keep my hands off you and you couldn't keep your hands off me. And we were just making out in the bed and we were not going to even proceed with lovemaking, but we just couldn't stop wanting each other. It was so hot and sexy. Like that's the passionate piece that I want people to cultivate. I want them to feel that. I want them to feel that for each other. And then the lovemaking is the, hey, we're just gonna have sex all day long. We're just going to have it for hours. We've got a pitcher of water. We've got the tunes on. We've got a giant stack of soft, clean washcloths and hand towels. We've got the Liberator Fascinator thrown on the bed. We've got the oil. We've got the toys. We've got some strawberries. We got our vape pens or our Chardonnays. We're just chilling. We're playing. We're rolling around, we're goofing, we're kissing, we're going down on each other, we're giving each other massages, we're having a little intercourse, we're relaxing, we're trying a sex toy, we're making jokes, we're rubbing a spot, we're doing whatever. And we're doing it for hours. We're just enjoying ourselves. It's passionate. And we're just connecting limbically. And we're connecting in that turn on. And when we do that, the world falls away and it feels like the orgasmic pleasure that we're co-creating could help us to literally feel like we touch source, Gaia, God, whatever you want to call that thing that lets us know that we're not alone, that we're all connected. And we get to that through orgasm. orgasmic meditation, extended massive orgasm, oming, doing, whatever it might be, when you slip into that connection together, you can just go up into a level of connecting to spirit. It's spiritual sexuality, but it has to be in the auspices of relaxation, desire, turn on, being present, awake, aware. That has to all exist for you to achieve those levels of bliss together, ecstasy together.
Yeah, not thinking, not
Yeah,
judging.
I was going
Yeah.
to say, it's so fascinating because once we get out of our mind, we can get into our body. I mean, we can let our body really begin to, because I mean, when we think about our body, it's so incredible. We fall down, we get a scrape. Guess what it does? It heals itself. You know, we have these problems and the body just fixes them. And so often what we do is we stay too much in the head using, like we talked about, that goal-oriented thinking we just have to get to an orgasm. If that's our goal, how can we do it the fastest and most efficient? And real sex is not about that. You know, like we said, real sex is so much about slowing down, and it's about connecting into that present moment and feeling your partner in a new way. Because when you do make time stop, because I believe that the reason why sex is so powerful is because we're all really trying to get into that meditative state. And luckily, sex is something we're biologically wired to do. Like there's that drive inside of all of us that says, yeah, but it's really to get us excited about that meditation. It's really to get us excited about that connection that we will have with another person, especially like you said, as we are in love with them. I love talking to you. I love this topic.
It's so elevated. I've got a question for you. I've got two questions for you.
Sure.
One, do you have any rituals that you or your partner do before and after sex to start and close it, to just kind of like, or are you just jumping in? Like, is there anything you do to connect your hearts, like breathing, eye gazing, anything like that? I'll start with that, but I do have one more after that.
Yeah. There's a couple things that we really like to do. One of them is something that I call the Soulmate Embrace. It's at soulmateembrace.com, and it's a way of slowing down, connecting hearts, dropping your heart rates and syncopating them, breathing together, really seeing each other and connecting and letting go and becoming one. And then the other one that I really like is something called orgasmic meditation or expanded orgasm. We've been teaching, and I'd love to give you guys access to this. It's my husband and I have had a 20-year expanded orgasm practice, and it's basically, it started as a clitoral stroking technique that we learned from the Morehouse lineage. And you've probably heard of one taste and orgasmic meditation. That was an unusual spin on the practice that was rather transactional. And ours is much more of a spiritual, sensual, real turned on kind of thing that partners can do together over the long term, like 20, 30, 40, 50 years together. And we pretty much start every lovemaking date with this practice because it helps us. We work together. My husband and I run our businesses together, both companies, the supplement company and the publishing company. He runs the whole tech team. He's the day-to-day ops guy, brilliant man. And we have to not talk about business and our child and all the stuff that's going on. We have to connect, and we connect through this clitoral stroking technique where we just drop in, connect limbically. He delivers sensation, I ride the sensation. We're kind of entwined in the sensation together. And that has really, really been good for us because I'm always at will around that. If we decide that we're going to have a date and he gives me an expanded orgasm date, we call them due dates, delivered orgasm, DO, a due date. And then I, for some reason, just don't want to go further. Like it's enough for me. I don't want more. Then we're done. And then we just move on, have dinner, watch TV, hang out, do whatever we're going to do, go back to work, whatever day it is. So I never feel pressured to do anything I don't want to do because he has the patience and expansiveness to continually offer me this pleasure and this way to connect with him that doesn't require me to do more. Because if he was only giving me this Yoni massage, if you will, to get intercourse, I'd never submit to the Yoni massages. So it has to be this carve out, if you will. And 99.9% of the time, I want more. It turns me on. I get going. I've got the responsive desire. And that was such a pivotal thing in our relationship, so that I never had to feel pressure, performance anxiety, or quid pro quo, or any of those things. So for your listeners, there's some more information about this practice at expandherorgasmtonight.com.
Now, motherfucker.
And I will be giving you guys access to that and anything else you want from we have got 44 books and programs at Personal Life Media, but Expand Her Orgasm Tonight, even if you just got the 3 free pleasure reports and learned how to touch for rapture instead of effect, like literally that's a game changer technique that we just give you for free. We explain the difference between an orgasm, an extended orgasm, a multiple orgasm, and an expanded orgasm, because one of the reasons that I have focused on orgasm is that they are learned skills. And I want to teach you the techniques to have all the kinds of orgasms so that you just knock them off one at a time. Oh, now I can have nipple and breastgasms. Now I can have throatgasms. Now I can have footgasms. Now I can have coregasms. Now I can have expanded orgasms. Now now I'm a female ejaculator. Now I have clitoral orgasms. Now I have orgasms from intercourse. That's just women. Men have equally as many. And so when we realize how orgasmic we are and that they're all learned skills, it really, really helps. And so seeing the difference, I have pictures that show the difference between the types of orgasms, let you know what you're going for. Oh, I never thought about staying in the moment of orgasm and extending the moment of orgasm. That's interesting. I'm going to try that. So like you begin to expand your orgasmic capacity by learning these things. And that's what's at Expand Her Orgasm Tonight.
My gosh, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. We'll definitely bring you back on because there's so many things that I want to talk about.
Sure.
But one thing you mentioned is the Yoni massage. And
yeah.
I love to teach women to do that for themselves and do the de-armoring. Can you talk a little bit about either using a Yoni egg or the de-armoring massage, or anything about how to start creating that connection to our own body, our own Yoni? And you talk about sex being painful. From my understanding, it's a lot of trapped emotion, which is where that massage can come from. Can you just lightly touch? Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I can touch it. Let's see. So yeah, I really feel like Yoni massage is the core to the monogamous heterosexual couples life of hot sex. So one of the issues that happens is that, if you think about a penis as a banana, half of a guy's penis sticks out of his abdomen and half actually goes in and down. It's like his buried shaft. And the whole banana is full of erectile tissue. And when you open that banana and you take the fruit out and you turn it into a circle that comes to a point at the top, and you peel away the skin of the vulva and put it inside the vulva around the vaginal opening, that's our erectile tissue. And the issue is that men have very fast acting blood flow, hemodynamics it's called, into the long straight chambers of the penis. So if they get aroused, their penis gets hard really quickly. Where for the female bodied of us, we have all that same amount of erectile tissue, but because it's inside, 5% of it, maybe you could see a little clitoral gland, the little tip of the clit. You can't see the shaft. You can't see the arms. You can't see the legs, the vestibular bulbs that are underneath the pubic hair on each side of the opening to the vagina, which is called the vestibule. That's the opening. We have the G spot, which isn't a spot. It's a long tube that runs up from the front of the vestibule up above the vaginal canal. And then we've got a perineal sponge that's underneath the vaginal opening. And so literally we have a golden bracelet of erectile tissue that never gets fully engorged. So we've been having intercourse with a flaccid vulva our whole lives because we've been rushed to sex, or we've rushed ourselves to intercourse. And then we've had intercourse that's not orgasmic because we don't have a heart on. So we don't have the same amount of surface area. If you have this flaccid vulva and it's penetrated too quickly, it builds up anger and resistance. And then when it doesn't orgasm, it gets even more pissed off. It was funny yesterday. I was with one of my partners, and he went on Mid-Journey, the AI design, graphic design site, and he made me a picture of a woman who was building a wall of bricks, because I always say that every time a male-bodied partner penetrates a vulva before it's fully engorged and doesn't give it orgasms, it's like that yoni makes another brick in the wall of her future sexless life with them, because she doesn't want to keep having sex if she's not getting well cummed. And she can't get well cummed until all that tissue goes from flaccid to engorged, so that it's got all that surface area sending massive amounts of pleasure signals to her brain. So the Yoni massage is how we can begin to activate all of that tissue so that it gets responsive and engorged and filled with blood, so that it sends all the pleasure signals to our brain. And one of the things that I think is really great for solo pleasuring, as well as partnered play, is the next book I'm writing after orgasmic intercourse is called Orgasmic Cross Training. And there are 7 kinds of basic pleasure tools, sex toys, that you can use on a vulva. There's lickers, there's pulsators, there's air stimulators, there's vibrators, there's just like, there's G-spotters, there's the specific 7 categories. And until a woman has started to use all 7 of these devices around and on her entire vulval system, she's limited in her ability to achieve her full engorged and orgasmic potential. So you don't even have to necessarily have hands-on massage. You can give yourself a yoni massage. You can do the jade eggs. They're fantastic. You should be doing that. Feeling yourself, pleasuring yourself, finding your G-spot, making yourself squirt, doing all that stuff. So that when you're with a partner, you've done all this self-pleasuring, and you've done all this orgasmic cross-training, and your whole vulva is activated, so that, like, honestly, they could barely know what they're doing, and you're just going to come like crazy because you're just such a good comer that it hardly takes them anything. And then they feel like, oh my God, she really likes me. She's fantastic. She's so hot in bed. And it's like, yeah, I'm hot in bed because I've been playing with all these sex toys and making myself come for months till you got here, Buster. But okay, it's all you, baby. It's all you. You're a magician,
My gosh, Susan taking the pissed off pussies to the multi-orgasmic, like, come queens, like, oh my gosh. This has been such a blissful, amazing conversation. Yes. And what makes me so excited is that someone who's so open, tapped into their body, connected, allows all of the walls literally in the heart and the vagina to be down, so that we can have these deep conversations without even knowing each other. So I am just so in awe of your beauty, of your magic, of your bliss, of your aura just shines. And it's been such a pleasure to connect with you. I can't wait to dive into all of your books, more of your teachings. I feel like there's so much to learn. And I hope that our listeners are walking away with a little nipple chill and like a little elevation. I feel like highly elevated. Is there anything else you feel called to share, or how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. You're welcome to, if you go to the Sexual Soulmate Pact, Soulmate Embrace, expandherorgasmtonight.com, you'll be opted into my email newsletter. You can unsubscribe anytime, but if you stay on my Sex Tips newsletter and you reply to any email from me that you get, I personally get your reply. And if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it or point you in the right direction. You can also slide into my DMs. It's a little harder for me to do long replies on my phone. Like, I'm friggin' busy, you guys. So it's better if you do it the first way, get on emails, and then I'm in front of my computer. But I answer everybody's stuff. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's my name, @Susan Bratton. And my website is personallifemedia.com, where I have all the information. You can search it all. And I've also got betterlover.com, which has hundreds of videos, including how to give a yoni massage, how to use a jade egg, how to give a lingam massage, which is the penis, in addition to things like passionate lovemaking step by step, and all kinds of good stuff like that. So betterlover.com might be a good place too if you're like, tell me more about this yoni massage. I am tired of having bricks shoot out of mine.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, I'm in love.
Totally.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you so much for having me.